The following program contains strong language and content of a sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek nature. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, first I'm going to look at the January 4th edition of Raw. We start off the night with a promotional package about Bret Hart, which I think was done pretty well. Then we get to the real thing. Bret Hart is the guest host of Raw, the first time he's been on the show in over 12 years. He takes a moment to thank the audience for caring about him for so long, and then he gets right to the point by calling out Shawn Michaels. While I disagree with Shawn that Bret deserved what happened to him, I did like the promo, and I'm glad they were able to call a truce. When Bret calls Vince out, though, Vince naturally doesn't respond. We come back from the break, and Vince says that if Bret wants to call him out, he'll one-up him by calling him out at the end of the show. Our first match of the night is a quarterfinal for the Diva title between Maryse and Maria Bella. In other words, a waste of time. Thankfully it's short, Maryse goes over, and I wonder why this is the first match on the card. This gets a 3 out of 10. Almost immediately afterwards, though, there's a fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match for the US title between MVP, Jack Swagger, Carlito, and Mark Henry with Miz on commentary. While MVP winning makes sense, it seriously feels like a step down for him. MVP should be moving up the ladder, not going down a rung. Also, what the hell is Mark Henry doing in this match? The fact that Evan Bourne wasn't in this match and won is a huge crime. The match did little to interest me, and I think making it a fatal 4-way was a mistake. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Bret and Chris Jericho cut a nice little promo when Jericho tries to talk Bret into guest refereeing the title rematch he and Big Show are getting against DX. The DX with Hornswoggle promo afterwards doesn't really do it for me, though I did find Santino's Jericho impression amusing. Near the top of the hour, we get our third match. Yes, our third match. That's just sad. Jericho and Big Show get one last chance at the Unified Tag Team titles as they take on Shawn Michaels and Triple H. There's an amusing moment where Jericho does the ear cup a la Hulk Hogan when he's got the upper hand on Triple H. There's also a nice counter when HBK goes for Sweet Chin Music and the Big Show catches his foot, giving him a choke slam instead. There were a couple close pins that really excited me, and I'm even content with the use of Hornswoggle despite my apathy for him. The end sees Jericho go to give Triple H a Walls of Jericho, but in the confusion Shawn superkicks him, allowing Triple H to get the pin as DX retain the titles. While it's sad to see Jericho go from Raw, I hope this opens up a chance for him at the World Heavyweight title on SmackDown. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. After that, Randy Orton offers to beat up Bret if Vince will give him the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble, and Vince tells him to get lost. A pretty forgettable promo, and Randy probably would have been better off looking up Bret and asking him the same question. Up next, Sheamus takes on Evan Bourne with the stipulation if Evan wins, he'll get a title shot at the Royal Rumble. During the match, the crowd chant for Cena, which doesn't really inspire confidence in me that the WWE is doing a good job getting Evan over with the crowd. Sheamus makes short work of the high flyer, and thankfully Cena doesn't come out to interfere. Just a ho-hum match. Evan should have been booked in a more worthwhile way, or at least won the match. Imagine how refreshing Evan Bourne versus Sheamus at the Royal Rumble for the title would have been. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. On a side note, am I the only person who's disappointed with The Rock? Tooth Fairy, starring Dwayne Johnson, looks like shit! What the fuck is he thinking? But then, I shouldn't be surprised. Hey all of you Rock fans, soak it up! The next match I'm assuming is the main event. Kofi Kingston takes on Randy Orton. Prior to the match, Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes tell Randy that if he loses, they're throwing him out of the Legacy. Okay, without Randy, aren't they just priceless? It's a stupid quasi-stipulation, but it does make things a little interesting if Randy loses. Unfortunately, Randy wins the match and the boring status quo is maintained. Another ho-hum match, and I think Kofi should have picked up the win. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Finally, Bret and Vince face off in the ring, and boy, is it spectacular. Vince starts off critical of Bret, then seems to come around and say that their history should be water under the bridge. But it's a swerve! Vince attacks Bret, and as the show ends, you know things are far from over. Overall, the show is pretty mediocre and pretty low-key outside of the Bret Hart segments, but you can see where they're starting to build to the Royal Rumble. The new Diva Champion will most likely be determined there, which doesn't really interest me, but it's something. The Miz vs MVP, despite my views, will most likely entertain. I can also see DX defending their titles against someone, maybe the Hart Dynasty. And finally, Randy and Kofi will definitely be in the Rumble. So things are off to an alright start, even if the show's match quality isn't there. I'm giving the show overall a 5 out of 10. Now I'm looking at TNA's 3-hour Impact special on the same night, premiering Hulk Hogan, brother. They show some of the people waiting in line for the show, and some guy actually has a TNA logo tattooed on his arm. Seriously, I hope it's not permanent. Talk about a stupid thing to tattoo on your body. We open up the night with Steel Cage Asylum featuring Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Kiyoshi, Homicide, Jay Lethal, Consequences Creed, Suicide, and the Amazing Red. In layman's terms, a clusterfuck! The stipulation is to escape the cage by climbing through the small opening in the center of the dome. One of the greatest flaws of this is that from far camera angles, it's almost impossible to tell what's going on. It would be smart for the production crew to stick to close ringside cameras, but they keep going from camera to camera every second, which is very discombobulating. The end sees Homicide attack everyone with a baton, causing a no contest, to which the audience responds with, "This is bullshit," and I absolutely agree with them. It's a shitty way to end the match, and a horrible way to start the show. If this is the start of the new TNA, a pointless stipulation with a horrible ending, they aren't off to a good start. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Afterwards, Jeff Hardy comes out from the crowd with a new haircut and attacks Homicide. How do I feel about Jeff being back in TNA? I really don't care. He may be a fan favorite, but he's also a huge fuck-up. He was on top of the world in the WWE, and he threw it all away. That being said, I hope TNA puts him in the title picture or makes him the leader of some new young group in TNA, because any other place is a step down for him. And answer me this, TNA fans. Why is he attacking Homicide? They don't have some long-running feud from Hardy's first run with the company. Why not use Jeff in a better capacity? Honestly, does Hulk Hogan truly need a police escort? Come on. The next match sees Tara defending her knockout title against ODB. I like ODB, but what is TNA thinking booking her as the winner of the tournament on Thursday? Just give her a rematch and have Awesome Kong or Hamada win the tournament, with that winner facing whoever wins tonight at Genesis. And why the fuck does ODB regain the title? What is the point of giving Tara the title if she's going to lose it less than a month later? And why is Tara getting screwed from another solid title reign? It's just another thing that pisses me off about TNA. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Afterwards, Ric Flair is shown getting out of a limousine, but instead of coming back to him after the commercial break, they go to earlier in the day when Mick is supposedly barred from the Impact Zone. Bobby and his wife Crystal come down to the ring and waste time by cutting a promo saying they're leaving. So if it's true and not a stupid storyline, Bobby's time in TNA going over the likes of Rhino and Samoa Joe was for absolutely nothing. Great idea, TNA. Then there's a segment with the beautiful people that's a complete waste of time. This first hour of TNA isn't drawing me in or making me want to keep watching the next 2 hours. Then Scott Hall and Sean Waltman are denied entrance. Yeah, I don't buy that. For the next 10 minutes, we're given 4, count them 4 commercial breaks because they want Hogan to premiere at the top of the hour. Hey, they couldn't cut some of the pointless promos and put in another match?